member from Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Island and Rideau Lakes.
Parliament's budget watchdog has confirmed yet again that Canadians pay more in carbon tax than they get back in so-called rebates. In Ontario, for example, a family will pay $1,400 more than they get back. But they already knew that because everything costs more after 9 years of these NDP Liberals. Taxes are up, costs are up, crime is up, and time is up for their economic vandalism that they're perpetrating on Canadians. So why won't this Prime Minister just put Canadians in the place where they need to be with a carbon tax election?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, he didn't read the report. It's obvious, because on page 1 of the report, it says right here that Canadians will see a net gain, receiving more from the Canada carbon rebate than the total amount they pay in the federal fuel charge. Mr. Speaker, just flip to page 7. It's a bit long. I know the Member of Parliament might have a bit of a difficult time with a document like this, but the meaningless slogans don't matter. What does matter is that, broadly speaking, our updated estimates show larger net gains for average households right across income quintiles in backstop provinces compared to the previous distributional analysis. If he's going to quote the book, Mr. Speaker, he ought to read it. It's right here. I can bring it over if you'd like. Page 1.
Just going to ensure that we, of course, treat all members with the respect and dignity that all members deserve. The Honourable Member from Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands and Rideau Lakes.
Well, Speaker, not only did I read the report, I actually paid some attention when I dressed myself this morning, unlike that scene over there. The Honourable Member knows that order. Honourable Member from Milton will take a seat. Colleagues, I've mentioned this before in question period that it's inappropriate to comment on the looks of any member, and so I do point that out. So I'll invite the Honourable Member from Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands and Rideau Lakes to start his question again without the comments which the Speaker has risen to his feet for. Speaker, not only did I read the report, I was able to make it past the first page, all the way to page 19 of the PBO's report that shows the true cost of the carbon tax for Ontario families, that it's going to be $1,400 more than they're getting back in their phony rebates. And Statistics Canada today revealed the full effect of the economic vandalism. All of these high taxes and economic wealth redistribution were supposed to make Canadians better off, they claimed, but instead we've seen the largest gap between the rich and poor that's ever existed in this country. It's time for a carbon tax election. Why won't they just give us one?
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, I know that this is Friday, and I know that Conservatives just cannot resist every day seeking to plumb new depths of degraded nursery playground insults. But I have some advice for the member opposite. If he wants to insult a colleague for his appearance, never a good idea, maybe don't pick a gold medal winning Olympic athlete.
Order. Order. The Honourable Member from Calgary, Rocky Ridge.
Well, Mr. Speaker, after 9 years, taxes are up, costs are up, crime is up, and time's up. This week, the Parliamentary Budget Officer once again reported that the carbon tax costs more per family than families get back in rebates. In Alberta, the carbon tax will cost nearly $2,000 by driving up the cost of gas, home heating and groceries, and nearly everything else. All 10 provinces don't like it, and Canadians don't like it. So when will the government call a carbon tax election?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You know how you can tell that the Conservatives know they're losing the argument? is when they result to useless, meaningless ad hominem attacks on people's appearance. That is unnecessary, unparliamentary, and childish. It's childish just like their slogans, Mr. Speaker. They don't want to cheer on Canada's economy. They don't want to acknowledge that 47,000 jobs were added in September. They don't want to acknowledge that interest rates are down because inflation is down, and gas prices are down, and unemployment is down. And Mr. Speaker, the best part is our emissions are down too, because our plan is working. Canadians are working hard, and our economy is working for them.
The honourable member from Calgary, Rocky Ridge.
Mr. Speaker, I asked him a polite question and he didn't answer it, so I'm not sure what that response was about. I'll ask again and point out, though, that the PBO report couldn't have been more clear. It's right there on page 19 and page 3. That's where the PBO says that Canadians pay more in the carbon tax and GST on the carbon tax than they get in rebates. The carbon tax drives up the cost of gas, heating, and groceries. It kills jobs. It suppresses wages by chasing investment out of Canada. But he doesn't have to agree with me, Mr. Speaker. His government can call a carbon tax election, and we'll see what Canadians have to say. When will they do it?
Hear, hear.
The Honourable Minister of Justice and Attorney General.
Mr. Speaker, the carbon price is this simple. It brings down pollution and it puts more money in the pockets of 8 out of 10 Canadians. It is the single best mechanism known to the market to reduce carbon footprints. In fact, it was a conservative invention, but their opposition to it is unsurprising. What is surprising is the complete flip-flop on this position that we've seen from the NDP. When you flip on your principles and abandon supporting carbon pricing, you breed voter cynicism and you send one message to progressive voters. That is that if you want somebody to defend climate action and support attacking pollution, your only option is the Liberal Party of Canada.
The honourable member from Yorkton Melville.
After 9 years of NDP Liberals, taxes are up, costs are up, crime is up, and this government's time is up. Once again, the Parliamentary Budget Officer has confirmed the carbon tax costs Canadians more than they get back. Saskatchewan families will pay more than $2,000 when this costly coalition quadruples the carbon tax. The Prime Minister knows Canadians have had enough of him, taxing them to death while robbing them blind. When will he call a carbon tax election?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of the Environment and Climate Change.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The only place in the world where it seems like it's okay to never talk about climate change, commit to doing nothing about climate change, and commit to actually increasing our carbon emissions seems to be the Conservative campaign room. Because, Mr. Speaker, the world knows that climate change is real. We just had this horrific hurricane sweep across Florida, one of the most powerful ever. Wildfires are forcing Canadians out of their homes. And yes, Mr. Speaker, the Conservatives want to say, how is the carbon price going to reduce hurricanes and forest fires? Mr. Speaker, it's science. They need to go back to literally grade 9 science. Greenhouse gases cause extreme weather.
The honourable member from Yorkton Melville.
Mr. Speaker, how terrible that member is willing to use a narrative that is false when it comes to Jasper, just to make his point that is not accurate. The PBO has confirmed again what Canadians from all 10 provinces know. The carbon tax continues to drive up the cost of gas, groceries, and heating, and that is only the thin edge of the wedge. Middle-class Canadians are losing ground. Those wishing to join the middle class have no confidence in this NDP Liberal costly coalition. The Prime Minister knows he's taxing Canadians to death and robbing them blind. When will he call a carbon tax election?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of the Environment and Climate Change.
Mr. Speaker, the blatant climate denial from the other side is absurd and childish. Mr. Speaker, it's literally in grade 3 where kids learn about greenhouse gases. The more you put into the environment, the hotter our planet gets. The hotter our planet gets, the hotter the oceans become. And yeah, that causes more extreme weather. And it also dries out our forests, which makes our forests more susceptible and vulnerable to wildfires. Mr. Speaker, over 40% of the people around the world who were forced out of their homes because of wildfires last year were Canadian. We're a small country, 0.5% of the world's population. Climate change is real. When will these Conservatives get it?
Wake up!